First of all, thank you so much for the invitation to speak at this event, and my greetings to all other participants. The global pandemic caused by the COVID-19 since the beginning of this year is a major tragedy of great proportions that reveals the vulnerability of societies when they are not prepared for such occurrences, or when they choose to disregard the urgent priority that is required in order to save lives instead of saving the economy. Some political analysts have suggested that the impact of the pandemic is being handled more successfully by those countries that have a socialist system like Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua, despite the U.S. sanctions and blockades in those countries. In my professional career as a researcher at the University of British Columbia in Canada, I had the privilege of being involved in projects in collaboration with Cuban colleagues, looking at the Cuban healthcare system, public health, and international health. I learned a lot from that experience. I learned, for instance, how seriously and how far Cuba takes the notion of prevention in public health with a strong health knowledge component, so the population is empowered and becomes an active participant in their own well-being. World governments and organizations have made numerous attempts since the last quarter of the 20th century to achieve the ambitious goal of health for all. However, despite commitments to the ethical concepts of equity, solidarity, and social justice, good population health, and equal access to health care remain elusive today in most countries. Cuba is one of a handful of exceptions in the world. Cuba has had a long tradition of solidarity following the victory of the Cuban Revolution in 1959. As early as 1960, Ernesto Che Guevara addressed a group of graduating physicians and told them, and I paraphrase, "All we have been doing is charity. What we need to do is solidarity for the well-being of the people." Today, Cuba exemplifies the practice of solidarity in two main areas. One, in providing social assistance to its citizens, and two, in contributing to global health or international health. Cuba has practiced solidarity in the form of state support for its citizens through social services programs. Solidarity is embedded in Article 1 of the Cuban Constitution, and I quote, "Cuba is a socialist state organized with everyone and for the good of all," end quote. Solidarity is mentioned again in other articles as a right, but also as a duty towards others, as a human principle. At the same time, Article 72 of the Constitution states, and I quote again, "Public health is a right of all people, and it is the responsibility of the state to guarantee access, gratuity, and the quality of care services, protection, and recovery," end quote. These two articles definitely link solidarity and health as people's constitutional rights. I am convinced that the notion of solidarity plays a key role in Cuba's outstanding health outcomes. We have all been witnesses to Cuban medical missions in the world helping even in advanced countries like Italy. Now, in policy terms, the association between solidarity and healthcare has been recognized both by the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization. Of the 21 policy targets identified by the World Health Organization for the 21st century, the very first health target for the European region is solidarity for health. When we observe Cuba sending medical missions from the first one in 1960 to this day to other countries to fight the COVID-19 pandemic, when we note that the healthcare indicators in Cuba are getting better over the last 60 years, and when Cuba announces biological advances in the development of medications to fight chronic diseases and vaccines, then we notice that Cuba practices what it preaches.